Hi, this is New Time on Silky TV channel. We introduce you with the most visible news and important events that happened throughout this week in Kazakhstan and Central Asia. More details on politics, economy, social and cultural life with opinions from the most recognizable experts of Kazakhstan and the world. I'm Baljan Samigulina and this is what you will see today. At the Gabala summit, President Tokayev proposed OTS Plus, a format to push Turkic cooperation. What's behind this bold agenda and how fast could it reshape regional ties? In Dushanbe, leaders laid out roadmaps for trade, infrastructure and security under the Central Asian-Russia format. Could this forum give the region a louder voice? Cargo on the Trans-Caspian route jumped nearly 70% this year as Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan speed up terminals and harmonize transit. Is this corridor becoming Central Asia's overland gateway to Europe? Experts weighed in. We start this week's program from the meeting in Gabala at the 12th summit of the Organization of Turkic States. Kazakhstan voiced strong support for the creation of the ODS Plus format, a new platform to broaden cooperation between the member countries. President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev also put forward a series of ambitious initiatives, from establishing an Energy Efficiency Excellence Council to launching an industrial cooperation program. His speech in Gabala was wide-ranging and forward-looking, touching on security, digital transformation and sustainable development across the Turkic world. Our reporter Irgali Ramazanova has the highlights and analysis on this event.
The 12th summit of the Organization of Turkic States unfolded this year in Gabala, a city often called the Emerald Heart of Azerbaijan. Nestled amid the Caucasus Mountains, Gabala was chosen not only for its natural beauty, but also as a symbolic crossroads of cultures, a fitting venue for a gathering built on shared history and common aspirations. Upon arrival at the Congress Center, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev was personally welcomed by his Azerbaijani counterpart Ilham Aliyev. The warm welcome set the tone, but it was the group photo that drew attention. President Aliyev stood at the center, flanked by Kazakh leader and Turkish President Erdogan, a carefully arranged tableau reflecting the political geometry of the Turkic world. Addressing the summit, President Tokayev warned that the global security order is entering a turbulent era. Conflicts, rising tensions and widening geopolitical divides, he said, have become a dangerous trend, threatening all nations. In these uncertain times, the head of our states highlighted the recent signing of the Declaration on Peaceful Relations between Azerbaijan and Armenia, a landmark step that ended a 3-decade-long conflict and opened the door to lasting regional stability and economic growth.
Today's geopolitical situation is extremely complex, which is why Turkic nations must act together in the common interest. The international community now recognizes us as a strong and united states, capable of meeting serious challenges. Many countries have shown growing interest in the activities of our organization. Kazakhstan supports the idea of establishing the Organization of Turkic States Plus format, whose main objective will be to further expand our cooperation. This initiative is undoubtedly aimed at strengthening the international standing of the OTS.
Осы бастамамыздың ұйымның халықаралық беделін арттыруға жол ашатыны сөзсіз.
Among other initiatives announced by Kassym-Jomart Tokayev were the adoption of an international cooperation program, the creation of a cybersecurity council, a digital monitoring center, an energy efficiency excellence council, and a center for digital innovation within the organization. Focusing on the growing importance of digitalization and artificial intelligence, the president highlighted Kazakhstan's progress in this field, noting that the country has set a strategic goal to become a fully digital state.
A new international center for artificial intelligence, Alem AI, has recently opened in Astana. I propose establishing on its basis a center for digital innovation under the Organization of Turkic States, a platform to support startups, develop joint projects, promote knowledge exchange in the field of AI, and attract venture capital. We must use the potential of digitalization and artificial intelligence wisely for the benefit of our people, while mitigating the risks and challenges posed by new technologies. Therefore, I suggest dedicating next year's informal summit of the organization to be held in Kazakhstan to the theme Artificial Intelligence and Digital Development. Ahead of that meeting, we are ready to host an international conference with the participation of leading experts in the field.
білікті сарапшылардың басын қосып, халықаралық конференция ұйымдастыруға дайынбыз.
In his closing remarks, President Tokayev warned that water scarcity could become Central Asia's most pressing challenge, urging joint action to protect shared resources and the Caspian Sea, a vital symbol of the Turkic world. He announced that Kazakhstan will host a regional summit on sustainable development next April under UN auspices. The president also proposed holding a forum on the creative economy in Almaty and creating a club of Turkic world researchers. The summit concluded with leaders of Turkic states signing the Gabala Declaration. Yergali Ramazanule, New Time.
And we continue at the 12th summit of the Organization of Turkic States in Gabala, Azerbaijan. President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev presented a broad and forward-looking package of initiatives aimed at deepening cooperation among Turkic nations in security, technology, energy and culture. Against the backdrop of growing global instability, peace and security emerged as the main leitmotif of the summit. Amid growing global instability, Turkic leaders stressed that only through unity and dialogue can the region achieve lasting stability and growth. Building on this theme, President of Turkey Recep Tayyip Erdogan emphasized the need for collective action and engagement with international partners, voicing strong support for the creation of the ODS Plus format.
Türkiye olarak böyle bir dönemde zirvemizin temasının bölgesel barış ve güvenlik olarak belirlenmesini.
As Turkey, we find it extremely appropriate and meaningful that the theme of our summit this year is regional peace and security. We must realize a vision that interacts with other relevant international organizations and alliances and that makes our collective voice and strengthen heard. In this context, I sincerely believe that the ODS Plus format we have agreed upon today will bring new dynamism to our cooperation with the third parties. Dear brothers, as I have stated in previous summits and meetings, we're ready to make every possible contribution within our family council, particularly in building capacity for security and all areas of shared interest.
Kapasite inşası başta olmak üzere ortak menfaatimizi ilgilendiren her alanda mümkün olan her katkıyı aile meclisimizin bünyesinde sağlamaya hazırız.
The summit also highlighted the growing role of the Turkic states in promoting stability across Eurasia. Assuming the chairmanship, President of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, emphasized the geopolitical significance of the organization and its contribution to stability in the South Caucasus. He underlined that peace and development are inseparable and proposed holding joint military exercises for the member states of the Organization of Turkic States in Azerbaijan in coming 2026.
The Nakhchivan Agreement, the founding document of our organization, highlights the safeguarding of peace and security as a primary goals. Given the current geopolitical and security challenges worldwide, it is crucial that the Turkic states unite as a single center of power in line with the Karabakh Declaration adopted at last year's informal summit in Shusha and following the regional peace and security's theme of today's summit. It is well understood that development cannot be achieved without ensuring security.
Following the Gabala summit report, one theme rose above the rest: transport connectivity centered on the Trans-Caspian Transport International Route. This overland artery linking Central Asia, the South Caucasus and Europe is fast becoming a strategic trade lifeline. In the first 10 months of this year, cargo volumes along the corridor jumped roughly 60% as Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan raced to expand terminals, harmonize tariffs and cut transit times. Joining us to unpack what this means for two countries are Janibek Arunov, Associate Professor at Nazarbayev University, and Ilgar Velizadeh, head of the Political Scientists Club South Caucasus in Baku. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. And let's start with the recent tariffs changes on the Caspian. And I would like to refer this question to our expert from Baku, Mr. Ilgar. What immediate impact will this have on transit costs and shipper behavior, do you think?
Thank you for the invitation. Of course, I think that the recent tariff cuts by Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan will very soon make transportation across Middle Corridor route or Trans-Caspian route more affordable and competitive because by lowering and partly removing rail platform fees, and introducing unified long-term tariffs with Georgia. Both countries will creating more predictable and more profitable pricing system for shippers. This move reduce the overall cost of moving freight between Central Asia and Europe and makes the road as a whole more appealing compared with the traditional roads. So I think that this is very good decision, and we will feel it in the nearest future.
Yes, and it is obvious that both countries, Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan, put it as priority. And now, Janibek, I would like to refer you the question. The World Bank projects that by 2030, freight on the middle corridor could triple to 11 million tons. From Kazakhstan side, what key steps are needed now to make that forecast real, not just optimistic, do you think?
Well, I mean, it depends. Definitely this forecast from the World Bank, they just set the trajectory, right? That it's possible by 2030 to triple the transit. But it does mean that this is going to happen automatically.
Right.
All the countries along the route, including China, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Turkey, Bulgaria, Romania, and other countries, if they want to be part of the route as well, they need to invest heavily in the hard infrastructure and then also in soft infrastructure. I think that's the biggest challenge. When it comes to hard infrastructure, some facilities along the road, they need quite substantial investments in terms of expanding the capacity. One country alone cannot do all this kind of things, so it's a kind of work that needs to be done together. And then in that sense, the government in Kazakhstan should be very proactive, and it is being proactive, at least trying to be proactive. That needs to continue.
So, Mr. Elgar, despite the optimism, the corridor still faces logistical gaps as the outdated electrification on the Baku-Tbilisi line, limited ferry capacity, and digital hurdles as well. So what exactly has Baku done to expand Caspian shipping capacity and modernize the link, and how urgent are dredging and fleet upgrades to sustain this growth?
You know, Baku has already taken concrete steps to expand its Caspian shipping capacity, first of all, and modernize the Baku-Tbilisi line. The port of Baku in Alat is being enlarged to handle much more cargo and containers with the new terminals for grain, fertilizer, and roll-on, roll-off ships. And you know, I have to note that dredging and fleet modernization are becoming urgent because of the falling of Caspian Sea. Water levels and making ships' channel shallower, limiting access to port and slowing tariffs. Without dredging and newer ships, it will be difficult to sustain the growing flow of goods across the sea.
Thank you, gentlemen, for insightful points. We continue our program. Transport connectivity was a central theme this week, also at another high-level meeting in Dushanbe, where leaders gathered for the CIS Heads of State Council. President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev underlined that expanding trade across the Commonwealth is impossible without modern transport links. From the north-south corridor to the Belt and Road, these routes are turning the CIS into a major transit hub. And to unlock their full potential, President Tokayev proposed creating a unified digital transport and logistics map, stressing that in today's complex geopolitical climate, joint action is key to preventing crisis and strengthening mutual understanding.
С тревогой воспринимаем процессы.
We view with concern the ongoing erosion of international law, the catastrophic decline in trust between states, the rise of confrontational rhetoric, the deepening crisis of multilateral diplomacy, and the weakening of the United Nations peacekeeping potential. In this period of geopolitical turbulence, it is critically important for CIS member states and all our partners to join efforts to eliminate the root causes of conflict.
After 2 years of relentless fighting, could Gaza finally see the peace? Israel and Hamas have agreed on the first phase of a deal to end the war. The agreements reached through indirect talks in Egypt's Sharm el-Sheikh comes exactly 2 years after Hamas launched its attack, sparkling Israel's massive military response. But will this fragile peace hold, and how are people in Gaza and Israel are reacting to it? Yergali Ramazanoglu reports.
This pivotal moment was caught on camera. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told President Trump that a breakthrough in Gaza might be near.
I was just given a note by the Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East, and they're going to need me pretty quickly.
Later, Donald Trump took to Truth Social to announce that Israel and Hamas have both signed off the first phase of the peace plan. He said the agreement would see all the hostages released soon and Israeli forces withdrawn to an agreed line, calling it the first step toward what he described as a strong, durable, and everlasting peace. The U.S. president also pointed out that, quote, all parties will be treated fairly. People who have been directly affected by a 2-year violence are celebrating what they hope could finally mark the end of their suffering.
Thank God for the ceasefire, the end of bloodshed and killing. I'm not the only one happy. All of the Gaza Strip is happy. All the Arab people, all of the world is happy with the ceasefire and the end of bloodshed. Thank you, and all the love to those who stood with us.
The guns may fall silent, but the scars of war remain. According to Gaza's health ministry, over the last 2 years, more than 67,000 people have been killed and 169,000 injured, with minors accounting for nearly a third of the deaths. The war has pushed Gaza to the brink of collapse. The UN warns that over 500,000 people are now facing famine amid a deepening humanitarian crisis. Yergali Ramazanoglu, New Time.
Astana has officially voiced its support for the peace agreements around Gaza. The statement was released by Akordar shortly after the ceasefire was announced, welcoming the deal as a major step toward ending the conflict and stabilizing the region. It's worth noting that Kazakhstan's leadership has repeatedly called for dialogue and diplomacy to resolve the crisis, stressing that peace and humanitarian support must remain the international community's top priorities.
President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev has expressed his support for the ceasefire agreement in the Gaza Strip and the release of hostages reached through indirect talks in Egypt. The head of state noted the effectiveness of mediation efforts by Egypt, Qatar and Turkey, as well as the special contribution of the United States, led by President Donald Trump, to the negotiation process aimed at achieving lasting peace in the Middle East.
This week, President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev also took part in the Central Asia-Russia summit in Dushanbe, where regional leaders charted the next steps for cooperation, from trade and transport connectivity to humanitarian ties and regional security. During his visit, President Tokayev also met with his Tajik counterpart Emomali Rahmon, reaffirming the two nations' commitment to deepening their strategic partnership and advancing key agreements. To find out what this visit means for regional cooperation, stay tuned for our next report. This was the second Central Asia-Russia summit following the inaugural meeting in Astana 3 years ago that launched a new phase of dialogue. Today, the region's potential is widely recognized. Trade and industry are expanding, and new joint projects are taking shape. According to President Tokayev, trade between Central Asia and Russia has already surpassed $50 billion, nearly one-third of the region's total turnover.
The inflow of Russian investment grew by 33% last year alone, exceeding $4 billion. The growth was driven by the rapid expansion of industrial cooperation, with 114 joint projects implemented, totaling more than $21 billion in investment.
At the summit, President Tokayev featured prominently on security and stability in the wider region, particularly the situation in Afghanistan and the need for UN engagement. He called for a joint appeal to the UN Secretary-General to appoint a special envoy for the region.
It is essential to continue the joint work of the Security Council secretaries within the Central Asia-Russia format. It is also important to take concrete measures to strengthen cybersecurity and counter cybercrime, including threats involving artificial intelligence.
President Tokayev also highlighted the vast potential for cooperation in the energy sector, proposing the establishment of a regional competence council in Kazakhstan to address issues related to the nuclear fuel cycle and radioactive waste management. Notably, energy cooperation remains another key pillar of regional partnership. The trilateral gas alliance among Kazakhstan, Russia and Uzbekistan ensures stable energy supplies, while the construction of Kazakhstan's first nuclear power plant signals a new chapter in the country's clean energy transition.
Cooperation in the nuclear industry will drive the development of a wide range of related sectors, a matter of critical importance for us. In this regard, it is proposed to establish a Council of Environment Ministers of Central Asian countries and Russia.
Looking ahead, President Tokayev suggested hosting the first Central Asia-Russia Rectors Forum and creating a shared digital library, linking universities through joint lectures and archives. He said the summit's results mark a new page in regional cooperation, one aimed at lasting stability and shared growth across Central Asia and its partners. Marjan Samigulina, New Time. While the C5 plus Russia summit has taken place this week, it's worth asking a broader question: why do these summits are becoming more large-scale, and what have they actually achieved so far? Over the past few years, such formats have brought Central Asia to the table with global powers from China and the United States to the European Union. But how effective are they, and what tangible results have they produced? My colleague Almira Mirov explored that in the next report.
For a few years now, the leaders of Central Asia have been gathering with their international counterparts under the C5+ format to discuss regional and global concerns. But it wasn't always a high-level platform. The initiative started back in 2004 at the ministerial level, and only in recent years evolved into a dialogue of heads of state.
The first high-level summit in this format took place 2 years ago in Xi'an, China, where the Central Asian leaders met with the president of China, Xi Jinping. The meeting symbolized China's growing strategic engagement in the region. Later that year, the head of states gathered in New York for the C5+1 summit with former U.S. President Joe Biden. Their discussions focused on regional security and economic cooperation. Meanwhile, Kazakhstan's President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev called for U.S. support in establishing the UN Regional Center for Sustainable Development Goals for Central Asia and Afghanistan. After close cooperation, the UN Regional Center has officially opened this August in Almaty. Despite the growing importance of the summits, experts emphasize that the format remains largely informal.
CA5+1, it is an informal and often irregular meetings, even if now we have almost 2 decades of existence of this dialogue. Because of its success and because of its flexibility, it has been now expanded to include more and more countries in the dialogue.
This flexibility of the summits indeed makes the C5+ format one of the most dynamic diplomatic tools in Eurasia, because alongside the main sessions, dozens of side events are held, covering trade, investment and energy. During the C5+ China summit, for instance, Kazakhstan Chamber of Entrepreneurs proposed creating a Central Asia-China inter-regional trade portal to connect businesses and investors across the region, a project now under development on Kazakhstan's side. Meanwhile, under the C5+ EU framework, the European Union announced a €12 billion investment package under the Global Getaway Initiative, most of which €10 billion will fund the Trans-Caspian Transport Corridor, aimed at boosting trade flow between Europe and Asia. Kazakhstan also continues its cooperation with the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development on the creation of Research Center for Rare and Rare Earth Metals in Astana.
Under the agreement with the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, we are engaged in joint geological exploration projects and the introduction of advanced sustainable practices in the mining industry. To maximize this potential, we believe it is feasible to establish a research center for rare and rare earth metals in Astana.
Today, the C5+ format has become one of the key diplomatic bridges between the Central Asia and global powers, turning regional cooperation into concrete projects and long-term economic gains. Alongside tangible results, experts also believe such format brings immaterial benefits to Central Asian countries.
These Central Asia 5+ formats, which usually bring together Central Asian countries with one major external actor, which has global weight, such as United States, China, India, or Japan, or Russia. So they bring first immaterial benefit. They bring international visibility and global recognition to Central Asia as a region, with its own voice, with its own concerns, but also with its own vision about how to solve different global and regional issues. And then the second one, it also brings added value to legitimacy of our region as an independent region composed of independent, young, sovereign, and dynamic nations. So legitimacy is also important.
From Xi'an to New York and Samarkand, the C5+ format is transforming Central Asia's role on a global map. Once an emerging initiative, it now delivers real outcomes. UN Regional Center, Trans-Caspian Transport Corridor, green energy initiatives, and business partnerships. These initiatives help Kazakhstan and Central Asia to represent themselves as a reliable partner in various fields. Almir Amirov, New Time.
This week's gatherings at the organization of Turkic State Summit in Gabala and the Central Asia-Russia Forum in Dushanbe reaffirmed the strategic depth of regional dialogue. Importantly, cooperation among Turkic countries rests on strong cultural and humanitarian foundations. Yet the agenda, as we have seen, is clearly broadening. Member states are now pursuing industrial ties, transport connectivity, and new investment projects. Let's hear more on this from our author joining us for Central Asia in Focus, is political analyst Ojed Shegirbayev. Ojed, welcome.
Thank you, Baljan. Pleased to be here. Yes, you're right about the new directions of the bloc. But continuity matters. Cultural and humanitarian ties remain the bedrock of Turkic integration. In Almaty, the Turkic Academy began work on a history of Turkic nations, and the Korkut Festival produced memoranda to boost film cooperation. I'll take you through the details of these events in my segment. The State Center for Support of National Cinema of Kazakhstan announced the signing of memoranda of cooperation with film organizations from Azerbaijan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, Turkey, and Uzbekistan during the International Film Festival of the Turkic World, Korkut. So, the foundation of cooperation within the organization of Turkic states lies in its strong cultural and civilizational roots, which continue to serve as a core driver of integration among Turkic nations. Building upon this cultural groundwork, member states are now expanding cooperation into industrial production, transport connectivity, investment, and innovation. This Monday, the International Institute of Central Asia in Tashkent hosted the forum of think tanks in the Central Asia-Russia format, under the theme Strategic Partnership in a Changing World. The event brought together representatives of the diplomatic corps, leading think tanks, research institutes, government agencies, business circles, and universities from Russia and Central Asian countries. During the forum sessions, participants discussed the key issues such as energy cooperation, the development of international transport corridors, joint responses to security challenges, improvements in migration policy, and the role of digitalization and innovation as the new drivers of regional growth. Afghan authorities have issued licenses to Uzbek companies for geological exploration and hydrocarbon extraction within Afghanistan. Uzbek specialists have already begun work on developing the Tuti-Maidan gas field. Depending on the result of the initial exploration phase, further joint operations on new sites may follow. Murzahmudov noted. According to Afghanistan's Ministry of Mines and Petroleum, the Tuti-Maidan gas fields covers an area of 7,500 square kilometers and currently includes around 30 wells. The field's national gas reserves are estimated at 3 trillion cubic meters. Starting from January 2026, foreign nationals in Uzbekistan will be eligible for exemption from personal income tax on income earned abroad, in case if they paid a special fee of 50,000 USD. An additional criteria for receiving these tax preferences will be the opening of a bank account in an authorized bank in Uzbekistan or a cryptocurrency wallet on a designated exchange. At the same time, foreigners who reside in the country for more than 30 days per year and either own or rent housing will be recognized as a tax residents. Thus, the new initiative of the government of Uzbekistan is aimed not only on attracting foreign investors and highly skilled professionals, but also at creating a more favorable business environment. It's also expected to strengthen the national financial system and open new opportunities for expanding economic cooperation across Central Asia, amid deepening regional integration and growing mutual trade among the countries on the region. Inauguration ceremony to 4 new reservoirs held in Kyrgyz city of Osh. The reservoirs, constructed on the banks of the Agbura River on the site of Old Basin, have a total capacity of 24,000 cubic meters and cover an area of 4,450 square meters. According to the city administration, in the event of a temporary distribution in the main water supply, the reservoir will serve as a backup source to provide water to the eastern part of the city. Overall, Kyrgyzstan plans to construct new reservoirs in the southern regions of the country and carry out significant reconstruction of existing irrigation canals to ensure the proper watering of agricultural lands. One of the main reasons for these efforts is the growing threat posed by climate change. And that's all for today. Balzhan, give me the floor back to you.
Thank you very much, Ojit, for your highlights of this week. We'll be back with other news in a few seconds. And to other news, for the first time in history, a Kazakh woman has flown into space. 43-year-old entrepreneur Dana Karaguzova took part in the NS-36 mission organized by Blue Origin, the space company founded by Jeff Bezos. The launch took place on Wednesday morning and was watched live by more than 10,000 viewers. It was a tourist mission without any scientific operations, lasting 10 minutes and 30 seconds from launch to landing. The New Shepard spacecraft carried 6 passengers, from entrepreneurs to engineers, with Dana among them. The Kazakh traveler paid around $500,000 for her ticket. Earlier, the world's attention was drawn to another Blue Origin flight, the all-female crew that included celebrities and scientists. The national anthem of Kazakhstan, Madison Square Garden, a crowd of 20,000 people singing in Kazakh. All this became part of Dimash Qudaibergen's unforgettable concert in New York City. Performing on one of the world's most iconic stages, Dimash joined the ranks of legends such as Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Celine Dion, and Andrea Bocelli. This concert marked the beginning of the global leg of his Stranger tour. On stage, Dimash performed his hits in English, Italian, Chinese, and Kazakh, showcasing not only his extraordinary vocal range, but also the cultural depth and diversity of his music. A highlight of the night was the premiere of 2 new songs, pieces he had been working on for more than 3 years, making the performance especially emotional for his fans. Dimash's New York fan base, formed 6 years ago after his first concert in the city, has since grown into a strong and devoted community, and this time they welcomed their idol with even greater warmth and love.
It's the second concert in New York, and I experienced both. It's a totally different way. He, mature. His voice is, more like, elevate, the level, and how he present his performance is so spectacular. It's amazing. Just, everything is growing, like, us and himself, and for the stage is so amazing. The setup and everything, we are so enjoyed.
It's been about a year since he actually had a concert almost. So I definitely think he was prepared very well in advance. And he gave us a show like we've never seen before. And I've heard feedback from people who actually bought tickets for the first time to his concert, and they were saying it's one of the best shows they've seen in a long time. Interestingly, when Dimash has concerts, we have a lot of young people attending, and also a lot of male fans, which we don't generally see in his concerts in Europe or elsewhere. So he has a very diverse audience in the USA, I feel, which makes it more interesting and more, lively.
That's it for today. All the main news about Kazakhstan and Central Asia you can find here. More special projects about our country you can also watch on Silk TV channel. So stay tuned and see you next week.